how it went that night, but the pages don't add up, baby. The pieces don't sit right. Before they said an accident, case closed, official signed. But a mother reads the details, and a mother reads between the lines. One thud, then the quiet. That's not how a body falls. 7 hours of silence before someone made a call. So don't tell me it's finished. Don't tell me to let it lie. When the evidence keeps whispering a different alibi. A mother's love don't argue, baby. It just keeps asking why. I won't stop until the truth catches up to the lie. Something in the story shifts every time it's told. Too many versions for a truth that should be whole. No one walked that hillside twice. No one asked the second time. A death should come with answers, not a mystery in disguise. One thud, then the quiet. That's not how a body falls. Too many I don't remember, for a night that changed us all. So don't tell me it's finished. Don't tell me to let it lie. When the evidence keeps whispering a different alibi. A mother's love don't argue, baby. It just keeps asking why. I won't stop until the truth catches up to the lie. I'm not chasing ghosts, I'm chasing what they missed. The calls no one followed, the names still on that list. Yes, this is grief talking, grief that won't sit still. It's a mother, wide awake, doing the work they wouldn't, reading every report, chasing leads they never followed. So don't tell me it's finished. Don't call it closed, don't call it done. When the evidence keeps calling for the truth about my son. A mother's love don't argue, baby. It just keeps asking why. I will find what they missed, even if it takes my life. I won't stop till the truth catches up to the light. Brandon, you are loved. You will not be forgotten.
Live on the air, Trial Junkies United presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Hey everybody, Irish Amy and Mustang are in here. Patriotism is up on the board in our chat. We're having some technical difficulties, but you guys know me. We're used to that. No big deal. I want to welcome all of our trial junkies, our truth seekers, and our justice warriors tonight, because I'm Z, your storyteller, in the wilderness of injustice, with my ride or die doc riding shotgun as we navigate the dark corners where the predators hunt and our system looks away. Every case we cover is a person, not a headline. If we don't tell the real stories, the hard ones, the ones the system would rather bury, nothing changes. And that's why we're here tonight. We shine a light on the stories they'd rather leave buried. And tonight, it's Brandon Mitchner, 22 years old, and he had an associate's degree in marketing, and he was already building his clothing brand, t-shirts, sweatshirts, leggings, hats, the whole thing. His motto, he lived by the motto, make it your mission, and that was what his clothing line was. MIYM. He made it his mission to do the right thing and to push everybody around him to do the same. He had a business partner, a guy, we're going to call him John. And things between them weren't good for a while. Money, workload, who was actually pulling their weight. But Brandon didn't think John was holding up his end, and he felt stuck. But legally, he felt tied, but he didn't trust him anymore. And the night of June 28th of 2014, Brandon had made the decision. He was going to tell John it was over. He was done. He didn't get the chance, or did he? That night, Brandon went out with some friends. There was a party bus, the birthday party, few bars, and we're going to see some security footage. Brandon and John were seen walking toward the river on South Street. Seconds later, John runs away alone. Brandon's death was ruled accidental drowning. But there's too many questions for the family. So tonight, we're not telling the story alone. Sitting here with us is Brandon's mother, Shirley, his sister, Bianca, and Shirley has spent over a decade fighting for the answers, knocking on the doors the system tried to close, refusing to let her son's name become a closed file. And Shirley, Bianca, thank you so much for trusting us with Brandon's story.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're more than welcome, darling. And before we get into any of the questions or the case at all, let's start with something simple, not really simple, but deep and meaningful. Shirley, who was Brandon?
Brandon was the youngest of 6 kids. Brandon was a friend. He was an old soul. He thought a lot before he made his actions. So he always analyzed everything. He was a friend to the end. He loved his family. And when you're a friend, a close friend, he loves you too. He used to be my Friday night dates. He was very ambitious. He was a loving, kind, helpful person. And he believed in helping people if someone is doing them wrong. He believed in helping everyone. He also, with his brothers and sisters, would sometimes come to him to ask for advice, and he would give it to them. And he stayed close to his family, even though they didn't live here. His siblings, he stayed close to them.
And Bianca, what do you want us to know about Brandon?
Brandon was my first child, so to speak. He was, because we are 11 years apart, so he was the baby. So I did everything for him. He was spoiled. He was a jokester. He as I got older and I had my own kids, he would come over. He was a great uncle. He tried his hand in babysitting. He was fun, always wanting to have like a laugh. But then there was moments where he was serious and he put his heart out there. So he was a great guy.
Thank you,
Excellent.
because I think this is something to show that this is a person we're fighting for tonight. This isn't a headline. It's not just a cold case number. And Brandon was real and he meant something to his family. So buckle up, trial junkies and truth seekers and justice warriors. This road's going to get really rough tonight. Doc, are you ready to ride on this one?
Yep.
So let's start the conversation. Brandon was supposed to go to a party that night. Well, let's start before the conversation with the party. Shirley, the last time you saw Brandon, he was telling you about the party, correct?
Yes, we were celebrating my husband's birthday and our anniversary, and we were getting ready to leave to go to Florida the next day. Well, we were all, joking around. Like Bianca said, her brother is also a jokester, the life of the party, so to speak. And he was at the table and I was standing up and I said, "All right, Brandon, what's going on?" And he said, "I'm going on a party to celebrate a young man's 21st birthday party." And he said, "This is going to be interesting because I've never done this before. So this is going to be interesting." But he was eager to go. And I'm always preaching, don't do this and don't do that, and remember this and remember that. And then I'll never, ever forget, he put his right hand up in my face. And he said, "Mom, I got this. You trained me right, Mom. I got this." And he gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek, because I only let you kiss me on the cheek. Gave a kiss on the cheek, and then I said, "Okay, see you in a couple of days."
And so this birthday party, we're gonna call his friend Chuck. So he was gonna go to Chuck's birthday party, but they weren't like buddies, right? They weren't
Right. I mean, they knew each other. They went to school together.
Okay.
But he didn't hang out with them. And that's what makes this an interesting story, because who invited him to this party? Was it the birthday boy or was it the business partner? But it doesn't make sense because he didn't hang out with either one of them. So why would he even be invited to this party? And his business partner kept asking him and asking him and asking him, "Man, you got to go to this party. You got to go to this party." And he kept saying, no, I'm not going. And then finally, his girlfriend told him, she lived in Battle Creek. And she said, "Brandon, go ahead and go. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow." And so he went ahead and went. And it just doesn't make sense on who asked him and why.
Right. And so he goes to the birthday party, and what they had arranged was the birthday boy, his dad owned a business called Suits Tavern. And just to clarify for everybody, Suits Tavern was not a bricks and sticks and bricks building. It was actually an event planning, because they actually were in the same building as the Brannigan brothers, which was a bar, correct? But
Correct.
they were going to meet there. And so that was where they were meeting. And then they were going to get on the van, the party van, and go to some bars. Then they were supposed to come back to that location to get off. And then, did they have plans after that?
I don't know anything other than he was going to the party.
Okay.
And which would normally, if Brandon's going somewhere else, he will call me and say, I'm staying out tonight. I'm at so-and-so's house. He will let you know. And think about it, but I'll be honest, at 11:30, for some reason, I stood up in bed. I just sat straight up, and I said, Brandon hasn't called me yet. Wonder what's going on. And then I said, oh, he's going to that party, and I went back to sleep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, because you thought he was out having
Yeah.
a nice time with some guy friends, and what mother's gonna worry, at that time. I mean, he's 22, but mother always worries, but he is 22.
Absolutely.
So
Even when you get grown, like my daughter Bianca, I still worry.
And so with Brandon, actually where he parked his vehicle was about a block from Brannigan's. It was in front of what they call, I think, printergram or something. It's a printing place, which is just right up above them. So, and this is going to come in.
Absolutely. And also on one of the corners was a place that they made cakes and pies.
Okay, and that's going to come into play, guys. I'm not going to be watching the chat. Doc will watch the chat. So Ken Falla, thanks for joining us. So he'd parked his vehicle, and from some of the police reports, I've picked up them saying that some of them had plans that they were all going to go to someone's house and spend the night. We don't know if that was ever Brandon's plan. That's what some of these guys said. And there's a handful of them that went on this event. So when they get out partying, his girlfriend gets 2 text messages. One of them, he tells her they're feeding him shots. And then later in the evening, there is a report. I think I saw it on one of the police reports or in one of the interviews where supposedly he texted R.I.P. Brandon, which she said, and she made, the girlfriend said she thought it was just guys being guys, but I don't know. I don't see a guy saying R.I.P. in his own name. That to me is odd. But
Correct.
What do I know? What do I know? So they get back to Brannigan Brothers, or the Suits Tavern. And like I said, this is owned by the birthday boy's dad. Now, to me, and I have questions about that, Bianca, I mean, you have children, and if your kids were going out to a birthday, the 21, drinking's involved. Supposedly the tab was picked up for these young men, so they didn't have to pay for their booze. Wouldn't you be concerned about how much they were consuming?
Definitely. But it was like unlimited.
Yeah. And it was like nobody had a plan afterwards. You would have thought something that they would have arranged for either the bus to take them to somebody's house, or to take them to a motel, or to take them home.
Yeah, with unlimited alcohol, you wouldn't expect them to like get in the car and drive anywhere. You would expect
I mean, so there's questions about that. I'm sorry, that bugs me right off the bat, that there was no plan of what these young men were supposed to do. And it was said, and it was stated in the interviews, that Brandon had gotten sick at one of the bars, had gone into the restroom and had been ill. And then when they got back to Brannigan's, he was sick again. And he wanted to go home. But from there, what happened, Shirley?
They all got off of the bus. Don't know who all they were. And they were saying where they were going next. And if you and I were facing each other, I would throw up on your shoes. I would throw up. And then you turned me going down South Washington Street, away from my car. And I'm, having my hand in my pocket, saying, I got to go home. I'm sick. But you turned me the opposite way. And then the business partner says, I'm going to follow Brandon home. Okay. Brandon doesn't live downtown Lansing at all. We don't live nowhere near downtown Lansing. And then why are you following me home when you know that's not where I live at? And you could see there's a video.
Shirley, the thing is, he knew where Brandon lived, the business partner.
Yes, he's been here before.
Yeah. So, and if you guys can see the picture above, the little yellow line, the top point is where his car was parked. Then you see the other point is where the bar is. But next is when they start this walk. Because, and there's multiple, with the police report, there's multiple things about either Brandon walked off. The business partner, John, makes the comment that, oh, Brandon asked me to take a walk, which doesn't make sense. Why would Brandon ask you to take a walk in the opposite direction of his vehicle when he just told you, I want to go home? A bunch of the other guys were going to go to Eden Rock, which is another bar, which is kind of across the street from Brannigan's. So nobody, and that was in the police report. So nobody else really paid attention. But then he follows Brandon, right? John, the business partner.
Right. And in the video, you see you see Brandon walking faster or running, and you see the business partner walking right behind him, and he has his phone. Is he videotaping Brandon? Is he talking to somebody? What is he doing on that phone? But it is up to his ear. So is he videotaping or is he talking?
Yeah.
But what is he doing on that phone?
And so, as you can see, you guys, from the map here, they go all the way down and then to the left, or I guess it's the left. I'm terrible with my directions.
Well, it'd be a right. It'd be a right.
Yeah, you're going down, and then he made a right.
Yeah.
And then he made a right. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this was almost a mile. Now, Brandon, it was said, was so drunk that a few of the guys made the comment that they didn't know how he was walking. John, the business partner, said, Brandon got like this all the time when he drank, so I decided I'd better follow him. Now, his girlfriend said she didn't think Brandon drank that much, you know, normally.
Correct. So that's what I heard from her and her mother.
And yet we got the text where he's saying these people just keep giving me shots. So there's questions about why were they getting so overserved? You know, that's a question.
Right. And he didn't know the people who was giving him shots.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, he's been sick in the bathroom and everything. So now they're doing this walk. Now, if this was your friend, Bianca, if you had a friend and you were out when you were younger, out at the bar having a good time, and you notice someone's drunk, wouldn't you arrange an Uber or call a family member?
Exactly. You would get them into a car to take them home instead of following them down like 2-3 blocks down the road, which didn't make sense because you have your phone, so you can definitely call an Uber or a Lyft or even a taxi, or the bus may have still been running, which is not far from there either. So it didn't make sense.
Yeah. And this is a long way, you guys. They have to cross a bridge over an interstate.
Yes.
And there's a lot of businesses. There is even some private homes. And it's just like, but the opposite direction of his car. This is the opposite direction of where he parked. And supposedly, John, the business partner, says one of the other stories he told was, I followed him because his keys kept jingling and I was afraid he was going to drive his car away.
Which was the total opposite way.
But that's stupid because he knew he was taking him away from his car. Yeah. So that's stupid.
Yeah, it does not make sense. And so, and let me tell you guys, John changed every time he talked to somebody, he changed his story about what happened. Like I said, first Brandon asked him to walk with him. Then he was so drunk he wanted to follow him because he was jingling his keys and saying he wanted to go home and he didn't want him to drive. And then he said Brandon had a habit of getting drunk and passing out, and so he better watch him. But like Shirley said, he's walking the opposite direction of the car. I mean, this does not make
Right.
sense whatsoever. I mean, because they
And
could
all
have
the
called.
streets they passed, the guardrail was there was a guardrail up on all the streets they passed, except for the one where they ended up at. There was no guardrail.
Yeah. And Bianca, did you know the business partner?
Not. I knew of him, but not
Knew of
like.
him?
Yeah.
Okay. Because one comment that gets made is supposedly Brandon's phone died during the night, is in one of their comments in their interviews. They said when they were taking
Well, how did
pictures.
they know that?
Well, they said when they were taking pictures, all of a sudden his phone died. Now here's my
Do you know
question:
who was taking pictures?
Well, supposedly the boys were all taking pictures, which I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, Brandon took selfies. He took selfies all the time. And if he was out at a party, he would have been taking pictures of his friends. Not
Right.
one of these people put anything on Facebook. This is in
No.
2014.
No.
There is
No.
not one picture of this party, which I think is very unusual because these guys like to take pictures.
Yeah, there was nothing on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, nothing.
No, not a picture of this party. So they're saying supposedly his phone died. You know, doesn't call him an Uber, doesn't do anything. And then, so they go down, like Shirley was saying, or Bianca told us, and then they take this right into this. It's really a housing area, isn't Bianca?
It's like two apartments, complexes facing each other, and it's like a small little street that dead ends.
Right. And it dead ends into where the river
You're right.
goes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Simi asked about the interstate.
Uh-huh.
Or did he cross the interstate or he crossed the bridge over the top?
The bridge over top.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
see,
sense.
we have no footage that whole mile. They never got any footage from any businesses. There was a gas station, there was a church, and there were other businesses. I don't know if they ever went and asked to see if they actually walked this distance, because we're going to play the footage in just a moment. And when you see Brandon walking, you're going to ask yourself, how did he walk this far? I mean, it does not make sense. Now, when they get down to this area, supposedly John says that Brandon suddenly broke into a run. I don't think he's capable of breaking into a run.
It didn't look like it to me.
No. So we're going to play the footage right now. I want you guys to really look at this. Look at John is in the back. First, they're kind of side by side. It's not very long. Then Brandon gets in front of him. You're going to see John put something up to his ear that looks like a phone. And then you're going to see, after they get out a camera shot, then you're going to see John come back, but not Brandon. So while Doc shows this, you won't be able to hear us. So go ahead, Doc, and show us that footage of the.
Okay.
Okay. Can everybody hear us? Irish, give me a 1 if you can hear us, or are we back?
You're
But
back on
so,
screen now. Yeah.
okay. Irish,
Mhm.
someone give me a 1 in the chat, please. So there we go. We got some ones. Thanks, girls. So you saw them walking, and you saw Brandon's having a difficult time. He might be in front, but he's kind of leaning and but he's staying on the sidewalk. He's not wandering so bad that he's, off the sidewalk, which I think is interesting because he's still going forward though. And this was at 12:27 a.m. And if you guys noticed, when John pulls up a phone to his ear, and he says in his statement that he was talking to someone. Never says who, but he was on the phone. Now, if I was John and my friend, I followed him for a mile and I didn't stop him, surely that doesn't make sense.
But for
No, it doesn't.
yeah, yeah. First of all, you have to start from the beginning. And why did he have him pointed the wrong direction from where his car was? That
Yeah.
none of that makes sense from the get go. As they come out of the bar or tavern, and he points him in the wrong direction.
Because even if you didn't want him to drive anywhere, you take his keys.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
You could have put him in his car and said, sleep it off.
Or you could have called him an Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been easy. But instead, they go to this apartment. And then when they're at this apartment, okay, we'll come back to that map. Let me see. Now, the interesting thing, when you guys saw him run, okay, he ran, he said to call for help because he says he heard like somebody fall and he wasn't sure. He said he thought Brandon was going to use the bathroom, so he held back. But this is only 11 seconds, right? It's just, or 17 seconds that they're off the camera. And he said he thought he heard somebody fall or tumble, or well,
He said
actually,
he heard a thump.
a fall. There was no tumbling. I heard him fall. And so then he said he ran back to the street because he said nobody could hear him. Now, we just saw him as he's walking using his phone. But yet he didn't turn the flashlight on his phone to look for his friend.
Well, 17 seconds doesn't give him much of an opportunity to look and find out what
No.
has happened.
And if you thought your friend fell, why would you run?
Right.
Right. Because there was an apartment and a house, and you could have been knocking on the doors. Why didn't you call 911? You got your cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this building right here is at Washington and South at the corner. What this building is, that's the Waterworks building.
Mm-hmm.
Right, water and light. And they had video, and I had asked the police, was there any other cameras around? And they said no, which turned out they did not go down South Washington Street because Board, Water, and Light, they throw away their videos after 90 days.
Yeah. And actually this building, their workers, they have someone 24/7 there. So they could have even just gone and knocked on the door. John could have just gone up there, knocked. If he didn't want to bother the people in the apartments, supposedly, he could have gone up to this business and banged on the door. Now, the interesting thing is the police have only released this footage, but there's more footage. It's in the police report. John goes
Oh,
back.
wow.
It's in the police report. John goes back and then runs again. And there
Oh.
is, it's in the police report. I read that thing thoroughly. And
Okay.
So after he gets done running away the first time, he goes back to the scene.
he goes back to the scene for a second time, goes off camera, and then he runs east a second time. And they
Wow.
described it as less frantic than the first time he ran. But John never told the police about the second trip.
Mhm.
So, as far as we can tell, nobody ever asked him about it. And that brings questions as to why. If they have this and it's in the police report.
And the police report, I did a FOIA request asking for everything from the police, and they didn't even give me the first video. And of course, they didn't give me the second one. They didn't give me everything because they said, in case we have to go to trial, we have the right to keep everything.
Yeah.
But they can still
Well-
give you copies of it, though.
Well, at
Huh?
at this point, it really wouldn't matter because they've already ruled that it was an accidental drowning. Why not give you
Correct.
the information
Yeah.
you're requesting?
I know, and they didn't.
And
Another
remember-
lady got the first tape. I don't know how she got it, but she got the first video, but they didn't even give me that video.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna speak on it just a little bit of
Sure, go ahead.
after that night, the next morning, I got the phone call from my sister telling me and she's all the way in California, and she gets a call from his best female friend saying that they don't know where Brandon is. And so I go, because I don't live far from the area where his car was at. So I go to where his car was, and we call 911. And they, at first they say, it has to be 24 hours, but then we call back and we tell them the situation, and then they meet us out there because the police department is right like a block away as well.
And Bianca, about what time was that?
I want to say like 11,
Okay.
12 o'clock ish. And when we go, maybe 10, 11, somewhere in there, or later in the morning. And when we go back, the police John meets us there or whatever. And for some reason, he's telling us he was looking across, like, I don't know how to explain it, but the river, like on one side, they were on one side of the river, but then on the other side of the river, there's sidewalk as well. And for some reason, the police said they came. I guess he reached out to the police earlier in the morning, and they were looking on the other side of the river, which makes no sense. Why did you tell the police to look on the other side of the river?
Because he said he thought maybe Brandon crawled out of the river. That was
Exactly. But you didn't tell them to look where he supposedly fell at first.
Yeah. Yeah. He said, I think he crawled out over there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at, and I want you guys to remember this. The first time you see the footage, it's 12:27 in the morning. John's phone records don't show him even making a call for help until 12:56, 12:57. So we're over 30 minutes. He took 30 minutes before he made another call from when his friend supposedly fell, where he ran away, came back, and ran away again. 30 minutes.
So it's actually documented that he had his phone.
John did.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
So
documented.
he could have right then and there, when he heard the noise of somebody falling, as he said, he could have called 911 right there.
Yeah.
Right. And the police department and the fire station are like a block away as well.
Yeah. And then Bianca, so John meets you guys at the car. When do you guys get down to the location that they think Brandon fell in?
He had us and the police follow him there.
Okay.
And so we drove that way, and you know, because we had to leave Brandon's car there because we didn't have the keys, so we just followed him because he had his car, and we all went there. And then as soon as we get there, like, you didn't need, like, it was like as soon as you get to the spots, because there was no railing in that area, it was just like trees. As soon as you get there, you just look over and there's the river.
Right. Now, when did you find Brandon's hat?
That was as soon as you looked over as soon as you look over the river, you just look down, and I saw Mama, are you okay? You okay for me to talk?
I mean, go ahead.
As soon as, because it was me and my husband that went, and as soon as you looked over, the first thing I saw was, because I was there for the birthday dinner, was his hat and his shoe.
Okay. And so here's another interesting point I want you guys to hear. That morning, when the police did interview the people in the apartments, okay? One of the people said that they had gone out that morning and saw two guys going up and down looking over, because it's like a cliff down to the water. So these two young men were running back and forth, and yet they didn't find the hat.
And what time was that?
I think if I remember right, it was like 10 in the morning. So it was before they met Bianca.
Yeah.
So they were there. And the interesting thing, there were two of them, but in John's interview, he never mentions the other person. He said he went back, but that's not what the witness said. The witness said, I saw two young men running back and forth along the embankment looking down. And I asked them what they were doing, and they said they think they were looking for their lost friend. So it's like,
Wow.
but yet they didn't find the hat, which Bianca just told us she looked and it was right there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that doesn't make sense. Now, John actually told the cops that he doesn't remember that night because it was such a blur.
Yeah, he said he was drunk. He wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
You can see in the video that he wasn't drunk.
He said he had no idea where he was, that he got lost. But if we think about it, he walked over a mile, across a highway, across a bridge. He stayed on the sidewalk the entire way with Brandon, supposedly. After the fall, he gets himself back to an intersection he could recall by name. He made 7 calls to one of his friends, was giving him street names to guide him, he said, but the GPS wouldn't pick him up. And then he ended up going to another place, which was a gas station. But let me show you this map. So you can see down here where the river is where Brandon and him were. And then he goes all the way back up to where that red dot is. Now that's a long way. Why wouldn't you just take the street and go straight back up?
Right.
Right.
You know, I mean, of course, I would have gone to the corner to the BWL building that has people there, and I would have asked for help. I would have called 911. But he goes to this gas station, and remember, he's trying to tell everybody it was such a blur. He doesn't remember, but he was making phone calls. You know, he remembered the street names. He remembered it enough to go back to the exact spot the next day and bring a friend to search the embankment.
I mean, it
So,
almost
Yeah, he
sounds
said
like
none of his friends knew where he was at.
yeah,
sounds like he was trying to cover something up and didn't know exactly how to do it.
yeah.
Hmm.
You know, and that waterworks building does have cameras, like
Mhm.
Miss Shirley said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All they would have had to have done is gone right there and asked for the cameras, but the police didn't.
Yeah.
So he goes to the
But
Admiral
like I
gas
said,
station.
the police didn't even go down the street. They didn't even go down South Washington Street asking any of the businesses or even the church, because there's a church
Yeah.
down there and the Admiral
Yeah.
gas station, and they all had cameras.
Yeah. It's a big church. That thing probably takes up what, 2 blocks?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure they have cameras. I mean,
Me too.
but they didn't ask for any of them, and we don't exactly even know how exactly he got to this Admiral gas station that I showed you on the map, which was half a mile away or longer than that. And we don't know if they pulled footage from that. Who knows? So we don't even know if that's
Right.
where he really went. You know, there's no
No.
guarantee. You know, because he supposedly went all the way over on Cedar. You know, and there's a couple of stories here again. One, he said one of the guys picked him up. One of the others is he got a taxi.
Mm-hmm.
But the cops never confirmed in the police report I read, in the interviews I read, there's no confirmation of either of those stories. Now, they may
Nope.
have kept some of the files back. I don't know.
So
But
is it your guys' feeling that this was a cover up by the department or just bad police work?
Both.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it personally, allegedly to me, I'm not a cop in my private life
Yeah.
or on YouTube, but it sounds to me like they just bought Brandon's story, or I mean John's story, that Brandon was drunk and he fell in.
Yes.
I
Because
feel
And
like it was
one of the go ahead, Bianca.
I feel it was a cover up because money is the root of a lot of things, and
Yeah,
John and some of the other guys, their parents have money. So before like things even got out, I mean, it was still like he's missing. They were already lawyered up.
yeah,
Which was like a red flag already. And then then the lawyers that they had were like, we're cool with the police department. So I feel like that that was a hand in hand thing as well.
yeah. And
Hmm.
because the birthday boy never interviewed, as far as I know, did he?
I don't remember.
He never was interviewed. Say that again.
The birthday boy didn't even get interviewed.
No, he did not. Him or his father.
Mm-mm.
No. So the guy that arranged for this van to take these kids around and get them drunker and all get out wasn't interviewed. The birthday boy, who it was his party, he didn't get interviewed.
Interesting.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be crass here, but was Brandon the only young black man at the party?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, for some reason, the more I looked at this case, Nolan Wells' name popped up. And we all know Nolan
Yes.
Wells lost his life July 4th at a party where he was the only young black man with a whole bunch of white boys that all of a sudden lawyered up, had his cell phone. And this is another thing. This is going to get you guys. Brandon's phone got turned into the police. They gave it to John.
Oh, wow.
Why would they give John Brandon's phone? That's in the police report. They gave the phone back to John. So I don't know if John turned it into them.
And why would John have his phone?
Good question. Is that the only thing he found? Couldn't find his hat, but he found his phone.
He probably
yet
had his phone the whole time.
His phone was probably, and I think, wasn't his phone cleared because there were no pictures on it?
Yeah, it was clear.
Right. They couldn't, the police actually could not do anything with the phone. They said it was too long in the water.
Yeah. But they also gave it back to Brandon or to John.
Yeah.
So supposedly, allegedly,
I think I have the phone.
John gets his phone and nothing can be done with it anyway because the police said it was in the water too long.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
But when it was checked,
But you know what? Why didn't the police subpoena the phone company for his phone records?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very simple thing for them to do.
Yeah.
Right. You can do that. And believe it or not, I can't even get the phone records, and I own the phone. But AT&T and Verizon at the time told me that only the police can get the records of that phone. I cannot. And I was telling Verizon, but it's my phone. I pay the bill. They said, doesn't matter. You cannot have your phone records.
See, that doesn't even make sense. Anybody
No.
in the chat?
No, it doesn't.
Anybody in the chat answer that for us? But and I mean, and this Nolan Wells' mother said that she got her son's phone back after it had gone home with one of these kids.
Yeah.
And the Snapchat was clear. And she said she knows her son would have taken a lot of pictures because it was a weekend and they were all having a good time. Just like Brandon would have had. You guys, you go on his Facebook, Brandon takes selfies. It's 2014.
Yeah, he does.
That's what young men were doing back then. You know?
Yeah. He loves selfies.
Yes.
That boy loved himself.
I have a little problem with them not the police saying that they couldn't get anything off of the phone because unless that phone is completely damaged, I mean been put through some kind of grinder or something, they should be able to still get the information, something off of that phone.
I would think so.
Wow.
I mean that's
Fowler
we
says
hear
you can get cell records online, but they're not detailed.
no, yeah.
But for John to be saying that I don't remember everything, it was a blur. He knew exactly where he left Brandon. He knew exactly who he talked to. There,
and you could see that in that footage when he's running away from the scene. He did not give the appearance that he had a problem being inebriated.
Yeah. And the thing was that neighbor who saw these two men, she said they were frantically searching the riverbank around 10 a.m. And Bianca told us they arrived around 11 or so, or 11:30. So see, they went down there before they took you there, but that second person wasn't there. And he never told the cops there was a second person. The second person was told to them by the homeowner or one of the people that rented the apartment. She told them, I saw two men frantically searching the riverbank the next morning at 10 a.m. So who's the second person? Why was it never mentioned? And John didn't even, in his interview, did not tell the cops that he had been at the scene before he called the cops. He didn't tell them he had gone there that morning.
No, and as a matter of fact, John wasn't even going to acknowledge Brandon was missing. What happened was Brandon's girlfriend called another friend of Brandon's and said, "Have you seen Brandon? Because he should have been here by now up in Battle Creek." And so she called this other young lady, and this other young lady called John and said, "All right, where is he? You know where he's at." And he played dumb and said, "What you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about." And she said, "You need to let somebody know that he's missing. You need to put it out there on Facebook. You need to do something." And this was 11 hours later. He was not going to say anything. And this reminds me of the case with Nolan, because eventually somebody did call, but this young lady had to make John make that phone call. But John did not call the police. What he was doing was he was trying to make sure, did Brandon get locked up? Was he in a hospital? He didn't call to say my friend's missing. He didn't do that. My daughter had to do that. John didn't do that. So like with the Nolan case, he wanted Brandon to be missing.
Yeah. And another thing, when you stop and think about it, is Miss Shirley sent me an email that another young man had sent to her saying that one of the guys that was at this function, he was hanging out with his brother at their house. And so in the middle, after all this happened with Brandon, John shows up at that house where this other guy's at. And he wants to, and he says something about Brandon's missing. And he told another person on the phone, Brandon fell. So he was opening his mouth, just not to the correct people, and so yeah, it was like, go ahead, Doc.
So he brought out earlier in our conversation that that Brandon had made the decision to tell John that it was over, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ever get a chance to do that?
We don't know.
Yeah.
Because if he had told him, well, there's your motive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing, in the interviews I read, nobody said they saw a sign of arguments or trouble that night.
Right.
But, my first thought is you have a bunch of young men that are overfed alcohol, testosterone's going, and you're going to tell me not one of them got a little fussy with one of the others? I mean, I don't know. That I just, that doesn't make sense. Somebody in the group always gets fussy with someone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially after one person is going to tell you they don't want to do business with you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Brandon's autopsy came back. His alcohol content was 0.22. That poor young man, they had fed him so, and now remember, he's thrown up a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
So they had really, when he said they were feeding him shots, he was overserved, very much so. But Miss Shirley, you said you had called the ME without telling him who you were and asked him a question. What was that question you asked the medical examiner?
I didn't tell them who I was. And I just asked them, I have a story and I want to know what your answer would be. And I asked them, if a person fell down a cliff, I mean, I said it wasn't high up, but it was a cliff. And you could see the trees and the bushes and the branches. And down below is river. And if a person fell down there, what should be wrong with their body? And so at that time, she told me that you're going to have some scratches. You might have a broken bone. Your neck could be broken, but your clothes should be torn. But something should be wrong with you and you should be having dirt or mud on your clothes. And so I said, okay. I said who I was, and I said, now, can you pull Brandon Mitchner's autopsy. And she pulled the autopsy up and waited a couple of seconds, and she said there was absolutely nothing wrong with him other than he had water in his lungs. That was it.
Yeah. So
So
that doesn't make sense for someone that supposedly the picture, it's hard to see there, guys, but there's trees,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
you know. So if he would have tumbled, which of course, remember, John said he didn't tumble, he just fell. He heard no,
right.
you know, because he even made the comment, I think in the interview somewhere, it said something about he thought maybe he just fell on the ground, not even over the embankment at first.
Mhm.
So if he just fell down, you know, and he doesn't have marks from scratches,
Mm-mm.
that doesn't make sense. Now, because he didn't have broken bones, so we know there wasn't like he didn't get physically beat up. You
Right.
know, we'll say that. That's true. He wasn't. But it doesn't take much to shove someone.
No.
A shove, and that could be someone getting in an argument. You
Well, there
shove
was a young
somebody.
lady came forward to me, and she did reach out to the police, and the police brushed her off and said that she probably was a jealous ex-girlfriend. Well, what she did was John called her that night and told her that him and Brandon got into a fight that night. And so he was expressing, and she had it on her phone, but once again, she can't get records of her phone. Only the police could do that. But they shook her off as if, you know, yeah, you're just a jealous girlfriend, ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. Unindicted co-conspirator says Northwest Mississippi is praying for y'all to have the spotlight of truth.
Thank you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
you.
And
Thank
like
you.
Simi Sharp, one of my mods, said it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
You know?
No.
And that another thing that happened was there was another gentleman that was in the area, and he saw two men arguing, and he told his ex-wife, and she told him to report it. But then John said we never had a fight, because they did ask him and he denied it.
Right. But
Said it
like I
didn't
said,
happen.
there was he reached out to an ex-girlfriend and told her that him and Brandon were arguing, fighting, and but again, the police said it was somebody else. They said it couldn't have been them arguing. Said it was someone else.
Right.
And they knew this because why? They wouldn't answer that. They didn't divulge that information.
Exactly. Nope. But this is the first time I met the police officer, because they never came to our house. When Steve and I made it home from Florida, no police was here. And so I reached out to them, and I went to meet the detective on hand. And he told me that he believed what the boys all said. He said, you should have seen their faces. They all said the same story. And I said, I said, wait a minute, you never even investigated them. You only had one little conversation with them and you believed them. And then he had the nerves to say to me, well, you know, back in the day when I was younger, I used to drink a lot. And it's just by God, I am still here. And I wanted to take my hands and put it around his throat. But I just said, I'm not going to prison for that. I still have work to do. And I couldn't believe, I said, you should never tell a grieving parent that this is how I was back in the day. I don't give a how you were back in the day. That have nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And so I've never ever heard of any police officer believing you until they prove what you say is correct.
Yeah. See, that's called detecting. You want that gold badge. And once you earn it, that still means you have to go out and detect. You have to knock on doors. You need to pick up cameras. You need to call, get
Mhm.
statements. Um,
Well,
and if that's not your jam, a
uh,
McDonald's is hiring.
yeah,
I mean, I'm just gonna
always.
say it. Um, if you just don't want to detect anything, because something just does not right with this. I'm not even saying maybe John deliberately set out to do
Mhm.
this. It could have been just they were arguing, and it could have been a shove, and then he freaked out. But you know what? Man up. Say we got in a fight, you know,
Right.
you know.
But why you invited him to a party that wasn't even yours?
Yeah. In John's own words, he said that it was like one clean impact. He said it was just one good, like he just stepped and just slammed off like a ledge. No rolling, no
How would he
tumbling.
know that? How would he know
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Yep.
Because he told me, he said, I was too drunk, I couldn't see, and I didn't have my glasses on. But wait a minute, you were walking a straight line and you needed your glasses on to see, but you didn't have them on. Okay, keep lying.
Yeah, and remember, this is the guy that also said he couldn't remember a thing, but look at all these details he remembers. Because normally, if you're that passed out drunk, practically,
Yeah.
you don't. I remember kids at school would come home, come back on Monday, and they'd be asking everybody else, "What did I do?"
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Yes.
they
Right.
didn't remember.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
this guy knew where Brandon was left.
Yeah.
He knew where they walked. He knew to call people and ask, try and tell him where he was, if
Yeah.
that's even true.
Well, then
Because
how did he remember? How did he even remember to go to this apartment building?
yeah,
How did he remember,
exactly.
as he said, the Uber took me there. How did he know where to go?
Yeah. Well, see, and that's my question too. Did they actually walk that whole mile?
I don't think so. You see that car that's in the video? Whose is it?
Yeah.
Who does that car belong to?
Well, the fact that, Brandon, that would have been a long way for him to have walked,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know? That and if anybody's had a drunk friend, one time Doc and I had to go to a company event, and one of the girls got drunker and all get out. She was a handful. She
Mhm.
was sweet, but drunk, she was a mess. It
Yep.
took Doc and I both to get her, because we were away at an event, so we had hotel rooms, and we had to get her up there. And then Doc was like, "I'm leaving the room. You get her ready for bed." And I felt like I was trying to get her ready for bed, like I was, trying to put clothes on a cat.
Mhm.
It was just a hot mess.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with that.
Mm-mm.
Well, what really gets me about this whole situation is the lack of responsibility from the police department.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, well, we talked to all the kids, and they had the same story. They were all saying, well, no, you really didn't talk to everybody, did you? Because
No.
they didn't talk to the birthday boy, they didn't talk to his father.
Nope.
Yeah.
So how can they possibly say that they interviewed everybody?
Right.
And it sounds to me like they didn't even interview anybody. They just
Well,
talked to him at the scene.
Right.
well, no, they did interview a couple of the guys. I
Did they?
think they interviewed the guy that John said he had called for a ride. They
Okay.
interviewed him, and he kind of collaborated some of what John said, but there was some of it that he couldn't even collaborate. I mean, that was just, you know, so there was part of the story that it was just like, well, yeah, he called me, and then all of a sudden he stopped calling. And that was kind of
Mhm.
what, like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
But the fact that the cops give John the phone instead of keeping it for forensic analysis,
Right.
and then John tells them it's been wiped clean. Well, who wiped it? I'd like to
Exactly.
know.
Right. Who was
I mean,
it?
I have questions. You
Well,
know,
another
Yeah,
thing.
that's what makes. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
on.
Go ahead.
I was just saying that's what makes me think like the police were like working with them. Like I don't know. For some reason, it just feels
Yeah.
like the police were like they didn't take it serious for one, and they were trying to help them so that they didn't get in trouble either.
Yeah. I think at first they might have been trying to do because they did interview people at the apartment. They did get the footage from the apartment. And then I don't know if they found out who was involved and it just stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it was like at first, yeah, let's, this is a case we got. And then all of a sudden it was just like, okay, yeah, he fell. He was drunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean, like they don't even know who was on the bus. Who was on the bus? Who
yeah.
was at the bars? They don't even know. And then, like when some of the boys went to that apartment building, they don't know anything about that apartment building. I do. They don't. I know some of the people that was there because I can say his name because he's deceased, can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Tyler Murphy was a good friend of Brandon's, and he wrote a letter and sent it to me, and he was naming some of the things that was going on when Carlos was there that night.
John.
John. Sorry, John.
It's no
John
big
was
deal.
okay.
He's his business partner.
Exactly.
You know.
Right.
You know.
So he was saying things that he did that night. But it's really weird how later on that night he said something about they went back to him and somebody went to the river looking for Brandon.
Yeah.
And then the police told me that I need to hire a private investigator and get some information and then bring it to them, and then they'll go looking for then they'll investigate.
And Miss Shirley, when did you go to police academy and get your badge?
I haven't. But another thing that is weird is how come. So I did hire a private investigator, and he told me some things. But the Michigan State Police Cold Case Unit hired the exact same private investigator that I hired. And they were told something different than what I was told. And now the private investigator won't talk to me.
Dude, you have some questions to ask
Oh,
or
man.
answer.
Yeah.
You know, what'd they do? Buy you out?
Exactly.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, he won't talk to me. And
Yeah.
okay, maybe this is a coincidence or not, but there was, I think, 3 chief of police that I have spoken to, and they all have left. They went to Michigan State University to work there, and then one went to Alabama to work there. So I don't know if that's coincidence or what. And then everybody who was involved in Brandon's case no longer works for Michigan's police department.
So they basically cleaned house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are right. They've gone on to like the sheriff's department, Michigan State Police, but they're not at Lansing Police.
Well, you know what we call that in Texas? When you pass your police around that aren't as good, you call it passing the trash.
Okay.
Because
Well,
they actually got a law here now that they're not supposed to be doing that. So that if you have a police officer that's caused trouble, you're not supposed to just let him retire so that you can pass the trash to some other department. You're supposed to be making files. If they're doing it, that's a whole nother program.
Right.
But that they did pass a bill because they had a town that had only like 500 people living in it, and they had 250 cops.
Wow.
Gracious.
Because this dude was hiring all the bad cops that he knew. Now it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was just a joke.
Now,
But,
my first chief of police, Chief Yankowski, he said to me, I met with him, he was the first chief of police, And he said to me, Mrs. Mitchner, you need to hire your own private investigator. But I want you to know that I truly believe that this is foul play and something happened that night. But, Mrs. Mitchner, I cannot keep your case. I cannot make it a cold case because I have 66 cold cases and I do not need any more. So I'm closing your case. So
Well,
that's
I'm
how my
sorry.
case got closed.
I'm sorry my son's death was inconvenient for you.
Yeah,
What? I mean, really?
that's how my case
That
got closed. Because he believed it should have been open, but it couldn't be open because he had too many cold cases. So he closed
num-
it.
a numbers game.
And
Yeah, and I
and
feel like
what
him asking for like you to get your own private
there,
detective
yes.
was like his way of saying like somebody in here is corrupt and you need to figure
Yeah.
that out yourself. I can't snitch on my people.
Yeah. Yeah. I Bianca, I
Yep,
agree with you.
yep.
I think that's exactly what he was telling your mama. You know.
Yeah.
Now,
Because
another
because
thing
if that's not what he thought, then why on earth would you admit to somebody that your case got closed because I have too many? That's just that would
I
be
told him I'll never
absolutely
forget.
ridiculous
I know
for
it.
a police chief to say to somebody.
yeah.
Yeah. So my case
Well, and-
got closed. It should have been open.
Yeah, and here's another thing that'll blow your all little minds, people. In 2018, there was one of the guys, we'll call him M. M calls the detective on the case. He's got something he needs to tell him. He tells him that now this is 2018, we're talking 4 years later. He said he was golfing with one of the other guys, we'll call him D, and someone was there the night that Brandon died. He said during the conversation, D told him that John had confessed to him. In D's own words, he said, John, quote, he did it, he deleted him. We don't use the M word because YouTube gets all their panties in a bunch. So he deleted him. The detective on the case calls that hearsay, says it's not usable on its own. Says his next move is to go get it firsthand, straight from D. And D agrees to cooperate. And then he goes silent and he's never reached again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, one of the one of the people in the chat made the comment. Did they steer you to this particular private investigator?
No, I did that on my own.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
But then they turned around and hired him.
Right. Because I did
Yeah.
mine on my own.
Yeah.
huh.
Yeah.
And to me,
That-
how come if that person, that private investigator, if he had done other cases for the Michigan State Police, I think he should have said something to me that
Yeah.
I also work for, the other police. He should have said
Yeah.
something, but he didn't.
That's called a conflict of interest.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a conflict of interest.
Yes.
Now, interesting. The guy that I told you that he saw an argument going on at the guardrail that night, that was later about 1:20 in the morning, where he saw the two men arguing.
Mhm.
So that makes me wonder: did some of these guys go back looking for Brandon?
Right.
And when they couldn't find him, they got into an argument with each other.
Ah, that's good. I never thought of that one.
Yeah, because he said they were threatening each other, and one of the men standing by a parked SUV like he was waiting on the other two. And he took it to the police and he told him the witness must be off on his time because John said, I'd already left the scene. But call logs show he was still actively making calls for help 20 minutes before that. So did he get a
Right.
call for help and then they come back at 1:20? And supposedly one of them said, I am going to delete you, you MF person. So,
Now
Crazy.
Yeah.
So he's making calls and trying to get help Help to do what? Cover up what he'd done?
Well, here's my thought too. Could Brandon have fallen and hit his head and passed out and he ran off, then later came back and found out he was there? It's
No,
hard to
because he
tell.
had nothing wrong with his head.
There was no
Yeah.
contusions.
Okay.
He wouldn't have been
Okay.
knocked unconscious. Yeah.
So, but like I said, they could have come back looking for him because maybe he didn't realize he fell all the way in, and then they started an argument because guys wanting help and who wants to get involved, because
True.
that's what all because I reached out on Facebook to a lot of these guys that were in the police report. Amazingly, nobody returned my message.
Mm-hmm.
What a
It was so
surprise.
sad.
Oh.
I was heartbroken. And the interesting thing is a lot of them have children. And one of the comments I wrote, as a father now, I'm sure, and I'm talking to all of you boys that were on the bus or just knew about the whole thing, as a parent, you would want to know what happened to your child. And God forbid you're ever in this position that Miss Shirley and her family are in, and nobody will
Absolutely.
help you, because
Absolutely.
that's the sad thing,
Yeah.
that they're not even, and by now, come on, this has been decade. You guys aren't friends anymore, because most of you aren't on each other's Facebook pages as friends.
That's
Trust me, I
right.
went through them. I looked at more Facebook people than I wanted to look at the other night. And so you're not
Yeah.
even friends. So now's the time for one of you to get some cojones and speak up.
Mhm.
Man up. Let your wife give you back your man card and go ahead and say what you know.
Well, we did have the one situation where the golfing buddy or whatever
Yeah.
spoke up, and no one's ever heard from him.
Well,
No.
yeah, because the one guy spoke up that the golf friend told him this, but then once the police got a hold of him, oh yeah, I'll talk to you, and then all of a sudden crickets.
Yeah.
You know how
Right.
you like crickets, Doc.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Wow.
Bianca, did you think that Brandon's hat looked like it had been placed there?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't recall, but
Was
no,
it
I
dirty?
don't.
Did the police
The
take
dirty?
pictures?
No, see, when we first got there, no. Like when we first got there, it was us, and then there was one officer, and so it was and my mom's best friend met us up there. And so it was us up there at first, and then we went up to there, and as soon as you, like I said, you look over, you see the hat, and then a little bit further down was a shoe. And I just automatically, because I knew what he had on the night before, so I knew that was his. And my thought at the time was, if you were looking, you would have seen that. Like, it didn't make
Yeah.
sense. Like, if you say you were, how did you not see that? And
Especially now that you know that two of them went back and frantically were searching at 10 a.m.
Mhm.
exactly. And then, so the officer, he was like taking down a report, like he was getting everybody's information and everything like that. But I didn't see, maybe later on, but it was so much, after that, when then more police came and more people started coming. They may have been taking pictures at that point, but I didn't see anyone taking pictures.
At that point, was that a police officer or a detective?
At when they were doing the report,
Yeah.
it was an officer.
Okay.
Okay. See,
Well, the first officer that was there, he said that this is foul play, but then the police turned it around to accidental drowning.
And this is going to make you guys angry, because supposedly the state police reviewed this in 2017 and 2020.
Yeah.
Both times they said there's nothing else to do. The state attorney general looked at it in 2021 and declined to open it.
Yeah.
You know, and Lansing PD had asked everybody at the party to come back in and talk, but every one of them refused. No follow-up,
Absolutely.
no enforcement.
But why do you ask them? Why don't you just say,
We need you to come
called an
down.
it's called an investigatory subpoena.
There you go.
And I even asked the chief prosecutor to issue a investigatory subpoena. And he said he can't do that because he needed more evidence. I said, wait a minute. That's what an investigatory subpoena is, for you to do research to get information.
And it didn't help that the attorney that they had is the #1 attorney in Lansing. Like, Lansing is not a big area by any means. Everybody knows everybody or knows somebody that you know. And they hired the #1 attorney that is in Lansing that is well known, and it just, I don't know. And like, I guess, okay, so for my experience, I tried to hire these same attorneys later on for a different situation. And at first they didn't want to, because of my name, they didn't want to work with me until they found out it was like, had nothing to do with my brother.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a shoe print that's in the police report, and that shoe print is not Brandon's shoe. And so I asked them whose shoe it is. And they said, oh, it must be a jogger. And so you can't jog back there. You would go in the river. There's no way you could jog back there. You would be in the river. And so they just ignored me, and they never even tried to find out whose shoe it was. A shoe, because it wasn't Brandon's shoe.
Yeah.
Have you ever?
It was a size 12 or 13 shoe, and Brandon was a 10, 10 and a half.
Yeah. Have you ever been able to find out, or maybe he didn't, think to ask? I don't know. The police officer that said at the outset that this is fraud, and then the police department came back and changed their story. Has anybody followed up to see what happened with this police officer?
I know they took him off the case. I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice to, if he's no longer with the department, or he's maybe he's gone. Maybe he's a source of information. I don't know.
Well, I did try to reach one of the chief of police that retired. And I asked him, you can call me, what you can meet with one of my family members because he's not in Michigan, to ask him, can you sit down and tell me what happened? What's wrong with my case? And he couldn't. He said, I can't talk to you. So by saying that you can't talk to me, I know you know something.
Well, yeah.
But he can't talk to me.
Yeah.
And that's
Because
pretty much an admission right there. It's that I know something, but I can't say it.
Right.
Well, they tell her the case is closed, but yet they won't give her Brandon's stuff.
Yeah. If the case is closed, then what's the problem with giving up the information? I don't.
Because another chief of police came and said, your case, if we have any new evidence, your case is not closed. So would you stop telling people your case is closed? I said, I'm only saying what the other chief of police told me. He told me my case is closed. And if you look at all the paperwork, it says my case is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And supposedly John gave his cell phone to the cops. But what does it say?
Yeah, I don't see much on his cell phone in the records.
No. So it'd be interesting to know what they got off of it. Was it actually the phone he was using that night? Could he
Right.
have been using Brandon's phone that night?
Hey, like I
You
said,
know?
we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, there is so many questions with this case. Um, the Lansing Attorney General, or the state of Michigan, the Attorney General needs an email. The mayor needs an email. The chief of police needs an email. Uh, I'm going to look up those emails. I'll put them in my Discord server. Remember, if you send an email, you write it as a concerned citizen. You tell them that you're concerned about this case. You're very polite. You never put the family or an advocate in a bad light. You just say, as concerned citizens, we're concerned about this case and how it's been unwound because nothing's being done with it anymore. You know, and why none of these families or boys ever reached out to this
No.
family and
No.
said, we're sorry, your son has passed. Nothing.
Nothing.
Instead, they hired their own attorney to hide behind. John agreed he would take a polygraph, then told the detective he didn't think he needed one anyway because he'd tell the truth. And so he never did take one.
And they didn't ask until I asked them. They never asked him to take one.
Yeah.
I asked them to ask him to take one, which by then, of course, he's going to say no. And so, of course, he's going to say no. He talked to people by
Yeah.
then.
And you guys, I'm going to put it plainly for you. If this had been Brandon and the victim was a white child, Brandon would be sitting in prison right now.
Hallelujah.
Let's just be real. Let's be real.
Mhm.
You know, they
Yeah.
told this woman that due to the number of cases, of cold cases,
Yeah.
this one was closed. That's how much they care. He was 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kid was not a troubled kid. He had his life mapped out. He had a career. He had a business going. You know, he had ideas. He was smart. He was cute. He had things to do. He was loved by his family. And somebody out there knows what happened.
And
I'm
there was
not,
a $50,000 reward. Those boys did not make $50,000. So
Yeah.
you know there's something else to it because they didn't even come forward for that. And the prosecutor would make them a deal, and they wouldn't get as much time if they would come forward. But see, that's why I know it's more than just John involved in it.
yeah.
It's
Well,
more than just
yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, hey, it could be a situation. Did Brandon pass out and they came back later and then do something? We don't know. There's just too many questions in this case. There's too many, and someone's got to talk. That's the only way this is really going to get solved. One of
Mhm.
you guys have to man up and say what you know and quit
Mhm.
hiding because you have children. And one day it's going to be your kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And Don Lemon, we need you to take a look at this case. I know you're all up with Nolan Wells' case, and this is a cold one, but I think you're looking at the same situation.
Absolutely.
I hate to say it, but it really is. I think they decided that Brandon didn't matter, and that's wrong because we're all family. I don't care what color, race, age, whatever, gender. We all bleed red. We're all
Yeah.
part of the human family. We have to look out for each other. You know, it would have been simple. All's John would have had to do that night is say, Brandon, go get in your car, go to sleep. I'm taking your keys, you know, or I'm calling you an Uber. And that would have been the end of the night. If his sister didn't live far, you could have got a hold of his sister,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
It's not like it would have been that difficult
Well,
because you
the
knew.
police could have very easily, I mean, with one question, why did you point him in the wrong direction and walk a mile down the road?
Right.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
They can't answer it.
No.
They can't answer it.
Yeah. No, they believed him because you
Yeah.
should have seen the looks on their faces.
Right.
Oh, what? Like they collaborated?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They believed their story and they never called them back in, to my knowledge, to talk to them.
Well, and here's
Even
the
when
thing.
another young man said, even if it was hearsay from one person to another person, but you still could have called them in and said, we need to have another talk. We've learned
Yeah.
some more information. Not that you're arresting them, but
Yeah.
just to say, we need to have a talk with, and another thing is pick them all up at the same time so that they can't use their cell phone to call each other. But
Yeah.
have about 5 police cars all go at the same time to pick them up so that they can't use their cell phone, and put them in a room, separate rooms, and tell them, we've learned some new information. Are you ready to talk? You got to
Yeah.
turn them against each other. Do your job. But Lansing don't investigate. They don't know how to investigate. That's why they ask the families to do the investigation. And then when the families do the investigation, they will decide if they're going to investigate or not.
Yeah.
But they don't always, because I gave them some information, like the place where they went and the name of the boy whose apartment it was. Have they gone there? Have they talked to him? No,
Yeah.
no. And have the birthday boy and his father and his attorney come in. He's special. Bring them all in and let's talk. Because recently I was looking at an email or a message from the birthday boy, and he had watched the video, and he said, oh my God, Mrs. Mitchner, I knew he was up to something. I just didn't know what. So I tonight typed up a letter, an email, and sent it to who did I send it to? The chief of police. So I sent it to him to tell him that I think you all need to call them in. Find out, what did he know? What did he mean by that?
Well, see, the birthday boy, I couldn't message him through Messenger, so I messengered his wife.
Oh, good. What's her name? No, I saw it. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah. So I messaged her and asked her, if she knew what her husband, if she could talk to her husband. And I'm sure, as the mother of 3 young boys herself,
Yeah.
she would have concerns, if this was her child.
John's wife isn't allowed to be on any kind of social media. John's wife doesn't work unless it changed within a year. John is the one who works, takes care. They have a little boy. John is the one who wife does that. And she used to work. I'll just say things are so coincidence. She used to work where I would go get my eyes checked at my optometrist. She used to work there because he said she's from another state. And he said, once they got married, you are cut off from talking to people. So, because they don't even talk to her anymore because she told them, I can't talk to y'all. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not controlling
No.
at
Mhm.
all. That's not a
No.
narcissistic behavior. Mm-mm. No.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And this is the person that we're supposed to trust.
Yeah.
That he was just looking out for his friend who ended up not being able to come home. And that's what we have to remember. Brandon didn't get to come home. And that's what's wrong. And let's all remember Brandon, because this young man, he was going places, and he didn't get to go places because some young men just aren't speaking up and aren't telling the truth about what happened. And that's all they have to say is what they know. We're if the party boy is suspicious, well, go tell the cops. Man up. Just go tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I thought something was funky, but I didn't think it would go like this. Miss Shirley's not going to be mad if y'all speak up.
No, honestly. I just want to know what happened.
And we're not even saying it was planned. It might not have been. He might have been arguing the whole way down there with Brandon to get him to agree to him.
Mhm.
Not kick him out of the business. Who knows? Because, until we get some answers, this is going to be one of those cases, and we're going to keep following it. Please, everybody, make sure that you share this episode, get it out there. We need as many eyes as we can get on it. Put it on your social media. Send it to somebody you know, because the family needs answers. A mom can't grieve until she knows what happened to her son.
Yeah.
Before we close out tonight, though, let's look at, we always have some missing people that we share. So stay alert when you're out and about. Please put the cell phone down. Look at people's faces, everybody. And if you see something, say something. Remember, the human trafficking is true.
Yes,
And
it is.
sometimes these young people get coerced out of their homes. And they think they're meeting somebody else, and then they get into a bad situation. And victims blend into crowds. So if you get that feeling on the back of your neck, go ahead and call 911. If you're scared to do that, we have a tip line. It's tips, the number 4, Trial Junkies United at gmail.com. Our first person, whoops, go back one. Okay. Our first person is Denasia Myers. She's 21. She's been missing since June 24th of 2026 out of Detroit, Michigan. She was
Wow.
last seen near 6 Mile Road and Lasher Road between 10 and 11 p.m.
Yeah,
She
we
went
know
to
where that's
bed.
at.
She went to bed at her mama's house or apartment. Her twin sister was the last person to see her, and she was gone the next morning. She is 6 to 7 months pregnant. The family recently found out she's being diagnosed as schizophrenic.
Ooh.
So there is real concern. She's only 5 foot, 120 pounds. She has dark brown hair, brown eyes. She has tattoos on her right arm and on the right side of her stomach. She was last seen wearing red and black pajama pants and a black hoodie. Possibly her black purse is with her. So if anybody knows anything, contact the Detroit police at 1-313-596-5840 or 1-800-SPEAK UP. Let's get her found. The next young man is Jacoby, I think is how you say it. Hale.
Yep.
He's 21. He's been missing since May 16th of 2026 from Darrington, Washington. He's a young black man, and he's like 6 foot. Oh, whoops, I didn't get to that part. But okay, he was last seen at 10 a.m. at his grandparents' house on the 16th of May on Gold Hill near Sauk River Road. He told his grandma he was heading out on a day hike. He has limited outdoor experience. Search and rescue teams from 6 counties have combed the wilderness. There's steep terrain, abandoned mines. They've had no sign of him. There was a trail camera that picked up 2 unidentified people around 1:50 that same afternoon that could have crossed paths with him. Now, Jacoby is 6'4" and 195 pounds, dark
Ooh.
brown hair and brown eyes. Beautiful young man. He has a Mongolian spot birthmark on his back, and that's kind of a blue-gray bruise-like. So that's an identifying mark. He was last seen in an olive rain jacket and a blue-gray-purple zip-up sweatshirt, gray pants, and a black Harley-Davidson boots. He had taken a machete with him because he was going out in the wilderness, a granola bar, 2 mandarin oranges, but he didn't have his cell phone. The case
Wow.
S
Mm.
as in Samuel, O as in Oscar, 26-64455. Call Snohomish County Sheriff at 425-388-3393 or the Missing in America number at 844-642-5678, and that number is 24/7, or call 911 on any of these. And let's see, our next one is a young Native girl, Talila Valenzuela. Oh, whoops, that's
Oh,
not.
yeah,
Where did? Oh, there. Okay, there she is.
okay.
I got her.
All right.
And she's 15 years old, you guys. She's been missing since July 16th out of Scottsdale, Arizona, near Pima Road and McDowell Road, and around 8 p.m. I'm sorry, down there in Arizona, we see a lot of missing Native girls. She's 5'4", 135 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. She was seen wearing a black t-shirt, denim shorts, brown slide sandals with socks. Case number D as in David 2614450. Scottsdale Police 480-312-5000, or the American Tip Line at 844-642-5678. Let's get her found. She is a young one. And then we have whoops. Somehow Christopher got put in the wrong section.
Yeah, there you go.
Christopher Joseph Lee Billett. He's 36. He has been missing since July 14th around 7 a.m. He was last seen in Buffalo River, Dene First Nation, Saskatchewan. He's from Dillon, Saskatchewan, Canada. They've had extensive searches on the reserve and along Highway 25. Nothing has been found. Christopher is First Nations. He's 6'6", 209 pounds, brown eyes, black hair with a goatee. He has a left ear piercing, scars on both forearms, a skull and sword tattoo on his right forearm, and a tattoo reading C as in cat, S as in Sam, Canada on his left leg. Last seen wearing a camouflage sweater. Case number R as in Robert, C as in cat, M as in Michael, P as in Paul, 2023-1030-773. Contact F Division RCMP at 1-833-502-6861, 639-625-4111, or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Remember, call 911 if you see any of these guys. And if you know something, say something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what's so important these days. You got to do this. We always show some missing people because we put it. I'll be putting them out real soon on our social media. So share them. Don't just sit on it. If you think you recognize someone, this list we try to keep updated on our link tree. And like I said, if you got any tips, you know our email. But if you also, if you have a story you want us to tell, reach out to us at trialjunkiesunited@gmail.com. Tonight, every Sunday we cover the cases that don't always make the headlines. Predators, the unidentified, the trafficked, and the trials that test whether the system works. Tonight, Brandon Mitchner. He was one that deserves justice. And we know his name now. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us to hear his case. Please, let's get this out there. And before we go, Shirley, any last words for the audience?
I want to say justice. Brandon's family deserves justice. Brandon's family deserves to know what happened to him, whether it was an accident and Brandon fell or something really did happen to him that night. But his family has mourned for 12 years now. We haven't mourned the grief that we should be mourning, but I say, as Brandon's words are, make it your mission to do the right thing. Save families from going through this all these years. And I know some families are still going through it even longer, but we just ask, please, submit this all over YouTube, Facebook, what all the other social medias are. Get the word out. Let those people know that we're not stopping. We're not giving up. We're going to continue to fight until we get the truth. And thank you all so much for doing this for us. We truly, truly, truly appreciate it very much. Thank you.
We do.
It was our honor to do it.
So
And I also owe I'll Be Frank a huge thank you because he connected us.
Thank
He
you.
also has a YouTube channel. And Bianca, what last words would you like to say, sweetheart, on your brother in the case?
I would just like to say that, piggybacking off my mother, I don't want people to think that we have given up or forgotten or just like, you know, just stopped. We're still going to always be out there looking for the answers, for someone to be held accountable. They may have, you know, moved on with their lives, and we have too, but we have not stopped. Brandon is never going to be forgotten. Brandon is always going to stay in our hearts, and we're always going to try to get him some kind of justice. And I just want to thank you guys for having us. It was appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like Doc said, it was an honor.
Thank
You
you.
guys, more than a decade of being told it's closed. It's not closed. That's closed again. That's not a case file. That's a mom who hasn't been allowed to grieve, because grieving means questions have stopped.
Right.
And these questions can't. Nobody's answered them.
Right.
You know?
25 questions. Plus.
Yes. She had a list that she sent to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Our closing song I wrote is called Justice Ain't a Headline, and it really is not. And enjoy the song before and the song after. These were both written with Brandon in mind. I can't sing with a hoot. I use AI for that, you guys, but I deal with dark shit because we do true crime. The writing helps my brain. So a file that stays the same. So tell me who decides whose story is going to get pursued, who gets to decide. And that's what's happening. This family just wants answers because no one's looking, and they're not giving up.
No.
So I want y'all to remember that. And we thank them for coming and hanging out with us tonight, sharing their stories. If you know any other YouTubers, hey, pass this on. Miss Shirley and Bianca will do more interviews. They just want answers. Remember, don't forget, every killer and predator depends on your silence. Don't. We're committed to not doing that. If you know something, speak up. Because it wasn't a mannequin. It never is, you guys. And our motto here has always been silence is betrayal. So if we don't hear the stories, we can't make the change. And that's what the bad guys are counting on. So us staying quiet. Until next time, I want you all to stay informed, stay compassionate, keep seeking truth, and never stop speaking up. Doc, do you want to say goodnight to our community?
Good night, Doc.
We love you all. The criminals don't stop, so neither do we. We'll see you Thursday night. We got another guest coming to talk about MMIP. So please join us. You guys have a good evening and listen to the song. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
I've got a folder full of nothing, a case number and a name, a detective who doesn't answer, a file that stays the same. They say they're stretched too thin, they say there's not enough to go on, but somehow other families got the answers we don't. So tell me who decides whose story gets pursued. Tell me who decides whose justice gets denied. I watch the news at 6 o'clock. I see the cases that get chased. I wonder what's different about the ones that get erased. Is it the street I lived on? Is it the color of their skin? Is it just that no one fought for us the way some fight to win? So tell me who decides whose story gets pursued. Tell me who decides whose justice gets denied. 'Cause no one else is looking, so I'll be the one who does. No one else is asking, so I'll ask, because I love justice. same pursuit. They ask me what evidence I have, like I've got a badge, a warrant, a team, like I carry a crime lab with me, like I've got the clues they need. You want me to build a case for you, but you won't hand me a file. You want me to solve the mystery, then call it closed. Meanwhile, I never asked for this calling. They found me the day I lost them. I learned the weight of unsolved. I learned to survive. Now I hold every lead they buried, every name left behind, and I won't call it over, even when they call it close. So no one else is looking, then I'll tear the whole thing down. I'll be loud where they were silent. I'll keep looking for the truth. Justice ain't a headline, it shouldn't pick and choose. Every family in the dark deserves the same pursuit. Every family, every name deserves the same pursuit. We are still here, we are still asking. We will not be the ones who stop looking.